Hey everyone, and welcome to this episode. Today, I am joined by one of our members, Prue, who has had some great success with the program over the last 6 months. Prue has lost almost 20 kilos, if not 20 kilos, and is feeling and looking and performing a whole lot different to when she first started. A little bit of a background. Prue started working with me last year. She fell pregnant, so we took a little bit of a break. And then she restarted again in September. And since September 2023 up until now, this episode's being recorded in April 2024, she has been absolutely flying with it. So I thought I'd bring her on and just ask her some questions, maybe give some of you some inspiration and just figure out how she's made things work now with being on maternity leave. She's had a house move in the middle of this, 2 children, a baby. How does she fit it all in is probably the question on a lot of people's minds, and I want to pick her brain about that. But before I do, I just want to say hi, welcome, Prue. Thank you for coming on.
Hi.
We've been having a conversation before this, so it's a little bit weird saying hi, but
Yeah.
hi and welcome. I guess I'm going to dive straight into this. Okay, so can you give us in your own words just a little bit of a background into you, like who are you, what do you do, what's life like for you, and things like that? Just give me a little bit of a background to you.
As you mentioned, mum of two. I've got a nearly 3-year-old and a 9-month-old now. And then before kind of having kids, just kind of professional working. And I guess like slowly during kind of COVID, and then thereafter weight just kind of kept on creeping up, and then having kids, after pregnancy weight just didn't really shift. So I had my first, I had my son, and then I tried to lose a little bit of weight, which I did, but then I had my second baby, so Riva, and then the weight just kept on slowly, gradually creeping up, and I was always losing like the first kind of 5 kilos, and then just hovering with that 5 kilo loss. Like there was not much movement, even if I tried to go really strict for a couple of weeks. I would lose, but then bounce back, and it was just kind of yo-yoing, between the first 5 kilos.
Cool. How long after Reva did you sort of come back on? Because I believe it was only like a month to 2 months, and then you found out, like you started with me, and then you found out that you were
Yeah,
pregnant. So then obviously I just said like no point trying to lose
yeah.
weight when you are pregnant. So how old was Reva when you came back?
So just I think the 6-week period after kind of having her had passed, and then around the 2-month mark, I kind of got back in touch with you, saying I was, feeling really good and had a good routine like going on. So I felt that I could go back into trying to lose weight.
Cool. So going back to sort of when we initially started, why did you want to change? I know that you sort of talk about sort of the years of yo-yoing, losing and gaining that same 5 kilos, but what was the point where you realized where it was like, okay, I maybe can't do this by myself and I should sort of reach out and get some help with it from a coach potentially? Like what was that? Why did you want to do that?
Yeah, so I like you mentioned, I kept on kind of losing and gaining the same amount of weight, and over time it just felt like I was just not progressing at all. I had all these kind of stacks of clothes that I kind of packed away and said, I'll lose weight and I'll get back into it. I'll lose, the COVID weight that I had put on, and post kind of wedding weight, and I'll get back into it. I'll get back into it, and I just could never open those clothes bags up, and I was ended up buying new clothes that were a couple sizes bigger, and generally just wasn't kind of happy. And whenever I saw family, they always kind of knew me for, oh, you're just trying to lose weight, so you're not eating this, you're not eating that. But then I wasn't then actually losing weight, so it was just getting frustrating. And I think at the same time on social media, a lot of coaching stuff started booming. I guess post COVID, a lot of people are looking at ways to lose weight while kind of still being working from home, not maybe going to the gym. So I think it just coincided that my frustration and then finding somebody online to help me kind of just came at the same time.
Perfect. Perfect. What was life like before you started this program, before you got yourself into like the great routine that you are into now? What did an average day look like for you before?
Do you know what? I did think about this, and I wouldn't say it was massively unhealthy. Like I wasn't binging and I wasn't like eating loads of unhealthy foods. I would, have my breakfast around just before midday, and that would be standard like Weetabix or something like that. And then lunch would be like toast and avocados and or eggs, omelette, something like that. And then dinner would be just a bit more carb heavy, so kind of pastas and rice and maybe a little less vegetables than I'm having now. But overall, I wouldn't say if you looked at the plate, it was loads of carbs or just a beige plate or anything like that. It was still fairly healthy-ish. I think the difference to what it is now is like portion control is a big one, and the in-between snacking.
Yeah. So maybe the right question to ask then was, what do you now, knowing what you know and going through the process and things like that, what's been the difference? Like reflecting back, like what were you doing wrong back then that was sort of like catching you off guard or not getting you quite to where you wanted to get to?
I think it's definitely the snacking. So post kind of 6 p.m. after dinner, it's where all those, like I would have tea and 4 or 5 biscuits or a bit of chocolate. I still have chocolate every day now, but back then it would be few more bars or pieces. So now I feel the snacking is definitely in control, whereas before it was a bit crazy. And now my portions are a lot different. So before I would load the plate up with loads of pasta or something. But now I can still have that, but it's just a smaller amount.
Yeah. I remember the snacking when you first started, and I think one of the things that you said to me at the start was like, as with all like newborns and having a baby, there's a lot of sleepless nights at the start and a lot of like late night waking and feeding and things like that. And I think one of the things you're saying is like, I'm having like a couple of penguin bars at like 3 a.m. in the morning when I shouldn't be doing that. And those are the things that we sort of fixed that helped you out a whole bunch, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, definitely. No more penguin bars now.
Well, not at like ridiculous o'clock in the morning when it would
Yeah.
be like a usual bedtime. Perfect. Okay, cool. So that was what life was like before. Where are you now? Tell me about results. How much have you lost? Like, how do you feel? Energy, mood, like what your lifestyle is like. Talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I've lost nearly 20 kilos, which it's amazing. I didn't think I'll get to this weight. And I remember being this weight exactly when in my life I was this weight last. So it was good few years ago when I actually had my first job. So it's really nice to go back to this way and start fitting into those old clothes that I had packed away. So that's really nice. And yeah, things are a lot different in terms of I've got a really good routine. So to help me curb the snacking, I do intermittent fasting and fail. I do it every day. Even if I have socials, I just then adjust the timing. But that really helps me not to snack past 7 p.m. Because I know that I'm done. So that's really good. And I know every day I'll start my day off around 11, 12 o'clock with my first meal. So I think that helps curb the snacking, but also allows me to be in control of my calories. And one thing I've learned more recently is I think having lost 15 kilos, from that point on, I realized that my Monday to Fridays, as you know, I absolutely smash those. I'm really good. And if my weekends could be like how my Monday to Fridays are, I think I would be a lot further. But that being said, I'm happy with how things are going. I realize that as long as I can have a lower calorie days, Monday to Friday, then on the weekend, because my weekends are unpredictable, don't know what's happening, I can still within the calorie allowance, but have slightly higher calorie days and still lose weight. So I've learned that the days that I am in control of, I can make sure that I'm having slightly lower calorie days and hitting all of my training to outdo those kind of unpredictable days.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Monday to Friday for most is like the easier part of the week, and the weekends when the routine is thrown out the window and everything is up in the air is harder. Um, could you be further along? Potentially, but you're still doing like freaking amazing. Like 20 kilos
Yeah.
down within sort of like 7 months is absolutely mental. So yeah, although the weekend isn't all the time how you want it to go, it can't be that bad considering where you are. Otherwise, you'd just be like kind of going around on this hamster wheel. Um, the big question that I have for you, and I think, like I said at the start, like that everyone will want to know, especially sort of parents, mums, people that work full time and have kids and stuff like this, is the time thing. I'm sure that you
Yeah.
had your doubts at the start as well, thinking like, how am I going to fit this all in? The time that goes along with it and things like that. And I like to sometimes debunk that myth that it potentially doesn't take as much time as you want. But just hearing it from you would be great. Like, where have you found the time for all of it? And has it taken as much time as you thought it would?
Um, no. So I think the main thing I would say is like do one thing at a time. So I know when we started, you had said to me, like, let's just focus on nutrition first. Like, don't worry about the training. Let's nail that. And we spent a good like 4 or 5 months. And you weren't too worried about my steps, especially being a having a newborn again. You're like, you know, don't worry about that, just focus on nutrition. And once I nailed that, I could then focus on the next thing. So I'd say it definitely is do one thing at a time and do it perfectly, then move on. So once right now, for example, my food, I pretty much have the same thing um every day or every few days. But that's fine, and I enjoy that, and it's simple, and I know exactly how many calories and stuff's in all of that. So once nutrition is done, then we moved on to steps, and once I got a daily around 8K plus steps, we then moved on to training,
Mhm.
and then with the training, I think that's where the whole kind of trying to fit it in came in. And initially, for me, it was how badly do I want to get to where I want to get? And if I'm happy just having, I guess, a kilo or so off each month, then I could just continue with the nutrition and steps. But if I wanted to really see my body change, one thing that you said was training is to shape the body and nutrition is for weight loss. So that's where it really hit me to say, actually, I do want my body shape to change. So then I did even find time once the kids went to sleep at 9:30, 10 o'clock. If my day was really busy, I would do a quick half an hour YouTube video then. And like I said, because Monday to Fridays are a lot easier to manage, I would fit it in, do 3 to 4 sessions, and then it was fine on the weekend if I couldn't do it, if my weekend was busy. So I think it's really important to carve out time for yourself. And if it's really important, you will find time, even if it is 20 minutes. I know sometimes I would send you screenshots of, I just did a 15-minute workout,
Yeah,
but
and
it's
it's
better than
better than nothing.
doing
Yeah,
nothing.
absolutely.
So yeah, I think it's just how badly you want it. You'll find time for it.
Absolutely. It's a really real way of putting it. Like, well, the first one obviously is break it up. You don't have to do everything at once, especially now that life is very different with two children and stuff like that. It's very different. You simply can't throw yourself into it, or you weren't in that position where you could throw yourself into it. And number two is, I guess, like very blunt, like if you want something, you will put it high up on your
Yeah.
priority list, right? Perfect. Um, what has been your biggest learning? Like, what's been the thing that you've come in and been like, oh, okay, game changer. I was definitely missing that before.
I think it's a combination of portion control, like, and really knowing the nutritional value in what you're eating. So a lot of like being vegetarian, it's hard to get protein in your diet, and knowing exactly how much protein is in vegetarian food. I think that's one of the main things. Like when I eat food with a lot of protein, I'm fuller for longer.
Cool.
And I can go without needing to have another meal for a few hours. Whereas if I have a carb heavy meal with minimal kind of protein, I know I'm going to get hungry again.
And that's when penguin cravings come out.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it's just fitting that in. And the other thing is knowing how much my calorie allowance is, I then have the freedom to, I still, like I said, eat chocolate every single day. But it's just making sure that it's within my allowance and I don't go, crazy. So that, yeah, I think it's those two things of like making sure you hit the protein to make yourself fuller for longer, but also allowing yourself those treats, because otherwise it gets too restrictive.
100%. And it's not playing what I call like calorie Tetris, where you're just like seeing the calorie number and you're like, cool, let me cram in whatever. The way that you describe it is great. You prioritize those protein, you prioritize the protein, the healthier meals, and then the little treat makes an appearance for you to keep your sanity. And you turn around at the end of the day going, oh, cool, that was a good day. I can do that again tomorrow. And that's what's led to your success. Final question. What 3 tips would you give to someone who is potentially starting out, or even like just feeling a little bit deflated at the moment with their own sort of journey, whether they're within the program or someone that's trying by themselves outside of the program? Like what 3 tips would you give them?
I'd say the first one is it's not a sprint. So when I was first starting out, I would calculate in my head, okay, so to get to this weight, I need to lose this amount every week. And then when I, didn't hit that goal, during our check-ins, I'll be disheartened and be like, oh, I can't believe I didn't hit it. Okay, I need to go hard next week, and maybe I'll be a bit too restrictive and it wouldn't quite work out. So I'll get frustrated again. So I would say just make mindful choices and be happy that you've, for example, gone out for a walk today, or you've had a big bowl of salad. So be happy in those smaller changes than trying to see the bigger picture, because I think that can then really demotivate you if you don't hit what you're in your head are setting unrealistic goals. So yeah, it's not a sprint, so take small mindful changes and it all adds up. The other thing I would say is find a good routine. So with a lot of kind of parents or new mums, it is really hard, and babies are so unpredictable. But if you've got a set routine of, okay, this is when I'm going to have my meals and this is how I'm going to prep, then I think that really helps to avoid kind of binging or going for food that you wouldn't necessarily go for. So meal prepping or eating the same thing. Like I still eat the same things that I did when I first started. One, because it's just easier. Like when my son comes home from childcare, it's a mad rush and up until bedtime. So it's just easier to eat that because I know exactly what's in it and it's quick to make. Obviously, as long as you enjoy it. So I think the food bank that you had told me to put together, I still use that still now, and that really helps. And then finally, I would say, sometimes just think, do you really need to eat that? So
Powerful tool.
especially, yes, I think especially post 6 p.m. when I wasn't doing intermittent fasting and the kids were up, I would eat, like I said, aimlessly, not even think about it. But if you just stop and think, actually, am I hungry? Do I need to eat that? Then I think that also helps reduce the overeating.
Perfect. Those are 3 wicked tips. Absolutely wicked. I think the big one
and
is
actually, sorry, on the last point, I would say one of the other Affinity members had said this and it really stuck. And I still use it now, is sometimes just go to sleep. I
Yeah.
can't remember who said that, but yes, one of the Affinity members did
Especially for like late night
as a tip.
snacking, it's like, yeah, go just get a lot of the time. It's like, how can it be avoided? And we often look for hacks for everything as humans, like what can I have instead, or what can I do to curb this craving, especially in the evening. And the biggest hack for it is like just get to bed on time, get some good rest in you and sleep. You don't need to be up late. And it works. It works wonders. The second one was good. I like that, especially for the mums out there, because I see it firsthand with Dimps as well. You know, the mornings are a rush, and then when she finally does get time to eat, if it's not planned out, it's like pastries and all of the wrong things, and toast with like Nutella and things like that. But just being organized and planning and prepping and where you can and having it ready is the big one, right? To keep moving forward.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and I think having those like easy to prep like your go-to meals. So I know like now a lot in the news is about like processed food is probably
Yeah.
not as great kind of freshly prepared food, but sometimes it's just convenience. And if you know that this food has this many calories in it and you know it's within your allowance, then then you can just go for it. Like, you know, the ready-made corn pieces and to just drop into a salad and that sort of thing. They're super helpful.
Absolutely. The way that I see it is, yes, absolutely. The processed stuff isn't the best, but is making that choice there, reaching for those ready-made corn style pieces versus ordering in a Domino's pizza, which one is going to be better for you? It's obviously going to be that one. And sometimes you just have to make that decision. So
Yeah.
yeah, well done. I appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much for your insights. And thank you for sort of spending time answering my questions. It has been very, very helpful. And just seeing your story unfold is great. And we're not finished yet. Pru's
Nice.
got big goals and we're still pushing for more. So watch this space. It's going to be so, so good.
Yeah, summer, here I come.
Perfect. Thank you so much for coming on, Pru.